He's like, no, he's like, you don't get it. He's like, it's not about this trophy. He's like, it's about helping humanity. He's like, why would I stop helping out, humanity and people if I can keep going and give back to the world? He's like, you're missing it with these trophies. He's like, I'm working
Mm.
with the younger generation.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm your host, Micah Johnson. And today I'm talking to Philip Ganz, who's making some serious moves in real estate investing for quite some time now. Philip, welcome in, man. Glad to have you.
Hey, such an honor to be here. I'm just pumped, excited, and let's give back.
I love it, man. I love your energy, man. I love it. We've had a fun pre-recording call, and I'm excited for our talk today. We're going to dive in on a subject that we haven't really just gone straight at like we're fixing to. So let's dig in on that, man. We're going to really pile drive some leadership stuff here. So for those who aren't familiar with you yet, let's start there. Tell us a little more about yourself and what your main focus is right now.
Well, my name is Phil Ganz, the president of Next Wave Mortgage. I went from, through my career starting May 7th, 2001 as telemarketer took a long journey to the president of a mortgage company.
Man, okay. What led you there? Tell us how it came about. And then let's dig in on that. I want you to share that story with your father at the right time. That kind of ties a lot of this together of why you do what you do and the way you do it now.
Yeah, what I would say to everyone is it's been a journey. And, I go from telemarketer, to loan officer, to branch manager. I think every step along the way has been a journey of trying to get better, try to improve, try to learn from others. See what you like, see what you don't like, follow the real leaders, right? See what leadership is. And I would tell, anyone, people are always looking like, when is it time to be a leader? Or when is it time to be a manager? Or when is it time to run your own company? And I can tell you when that time is. The time will be when you win a trophy that you don't care about picking up that trophy, or B, who helped get you there and you want to celebrate it with other people. When it's others
Right.
before you, because that's what it's going to take to try to win that championship among that journey,
It's so true, man. It's so true. And this is where that story of your dad, it hits in a powerful way of that truth in reality and actually the impact all of us, every single one of you listening, has had. It's had on your life. If not you directly, it's on your family. And this is what I love about this story. So take us into it, man. Where did that leadership concept come from for you?
Okay, so my dad's been a really big influence on me, right? And he's this really hardworking, brilliant guy, but he's really humble and hardworking. And I never realized, his level of like success. No idea. Gemini makes this easier now. So it's it makes it easier than ever before. But I'll tell you that kind of like, the story that in 19 and I learned about the story for everyone listening this year. So I didn't even know the story. Gemini had to teach me this story. So this is all verifiable. Most of it is, and I'll add in a little color of what I learned that wasn't on Gemini because
Gotcha. Okay.
Gemini only knows what you put in, right?
Right.
So in 1986,
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
my dad wrote a paper, and he's a cardiologist at this time at Brigham and Women's Hospital as a cardiologist. And he wrote a paper about how nitric oxide affects the body, which changed the way cardiologists viewed the body, right? It fundamentally changed cardiology in 1986 because of my dad's paper, right? It was a great paper, and it was 1986 when the Red Sox lost the World Series. If you were from Boston, that was in September. This paper was July 7th, 1986, right? And that was the publication date. And nothing, just to let you know, of my dad, he's just always working on the next paper, the next thing. So
Okay.
I wouldn't even though I was probably like 8 at the time or a little kid, I wouldn't have known any different. This is always like the next play with this guy, right?
Okay.
But 2 years later, and not only was my dad a big publisher of papers, he was, he'd always be editors of other papers, right? And in 1988, there was another paper that was based on a 1986 paper. Okay. And literally, like, the whole paper was like, might as well take Control C and then do Control V. It was like basically based on my whole dad's paper, right? The whole
Gotcha.
thing is like
Okay.
cited. If you like went through it, it was basically like other ways that other like different thoughts on the 86 paper. Not just keeping it
Right.
like simple, right?
Gotcha. Got
In
it. Their
fact,
reflections on what was already written.
yeah, he was considered almost the fourth author, right?
Okay.
And that's like really important. So my dad sees this paper randomly. Randomly. My dad was one of the people that would vote to see if this paper would be published, right? And so he's an editor. And the two other people that were voting said, this thing stinks. There's no way. And my dad voted yes. He's like, why wouldn't you vote yes? This is great. It's so ahead of its time. And they were like, they're like, well, we need more proof and we need more this and we need more that. And why don't you do some more studies? My dad's like, you guys are crazy. This is way ahead of its time. And so my dad, and he's only done this once in his career. This is what he told me, right?
Okay.
What I learned. He called up the head people of the paper. He's like, I don't care what the vote was. He's like, you guys are nuts. He's like, this is the best paper ever. And he said, well, it's because they copied your 86 paper, right? He's like, I don't care what they copied or what it was inspired by. I think that's a good way to put it. Copy is the
Right.
wrong word. We're going to say strongly inspired by, okay? Control C, Control V. And what ends up happening is that this paper in 1988 wins the Nobel Prize. Now, for people that don't know, when you win a Nobel Prize, only 3 people can win it. And my dad's considered the 4th person. So he didn't do it. And what happened is that, and no one even knew like any of this like even existed. But randomly, my dad was at some meeting and he's like, nothing to do, like, it's like some town in Europe. So randomly, I asked my dad, do you ever talk to these people again? My dad's like, yeah, one guy was like, was there at a meeting. We decided to just rent the car and like cruise around Vienna. And my dad told him like the whole story. And all of a sudden they like pulled over. The guy is like crying. Like he couldn't believe it because winning the Nobel Prize changed the way everyone viewed him in his life.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Right? The Nobel Prize, there's less Nobel Prizes than gold, like, medal Olympics, right? There's like very few of them, right?
It's pretty
like,
elite.
It completely changes like everything, right? And for like people that don't know, just in every field, like my dad's a big publisher. He actually has the 2nd highest score ever of in cardiology of never winning the Nobel Prize. So this is like a big thing. And also, you're like, well, who is number 1? Randomly, it was his boss that was number 1. So I don't know if they're in a competition, but that's just really funny. But what I would tell you is, so when I learned like all this story of how close my dad was, and really the 86 paper is actually better than the 88 paper, like many years later. Like if you could redo it, they would have given it to the 86 and not the 88. But I came up with this idea because for people that don't know, I have all these microsites or 1 or 2 page websites. What I was going to do was, and I was try to help my dad win the Nobel Prize and manipulate the process because I can locate the 3,000 voters and I like with my web skills, I could do it. Okay. And I told my dad this and my baby named me. And I'm like, he was like in awe that like someone would try to like help him, right? But he was there and I said, finally you can retire because he still works. Like, no way. Like, dude, this guy, 70, 76, still works full time, like no breaks, all gas. It's like, you could retire. It's like, you'd win and you could retire. He's like, what do you mean? Like, you'd win. And it's like, you could like, your final dance. He's like, no, it's like, he's like, you don't get it. He's like, it's not about this trophy. He's like, it's about helping humanity. He's like, why would I stop helping out, humanity and people if I can keep going and give back to the world? He's like, you're missing it with these trophies. He's like, I'm working with the younger generation. He's like, I just got off of rounds. I'm training the new people that will eventually replace me to try to help out, the world. He's not even trying to help out in America or get some prize, but he said I was completely misfocused. And he's like, if you think it's about this, but I'm like, Dad, you're the 2nd highest person you work for. He's like, it's nothing. He's like, he's like, if it wasn't for Gemini, he's like, you would have no idea. In fact, the other part of this story, and I had no idea either, is we said, well, who taught him? Right? Is that I accidentally learned senior year of high school, and this was accidentally, that my grandfather, what inspired him is that, my grandfather actually invented the Swan-Ganz catheter, and it's a heart catheter that opens up and The heart, it's actually named after my grandfather. Like, no way. He didn't win the prize either, but it was the same thing. These guys, they are not trying to win any prize or do anything. They're trying to hide it. They view these things as complete distractions. You know, have they gotten some awards along the way? But
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I'm not sure they'd even they'd reluctantly pick up the
Right.
prize. In fact,
Right.
one of my favorite football players was Barry Sanders, and I never understood why he never wanted to celebrate anything or end zone dance or do anything like this. It's a complete, that's how you know that Barry Sanders is the GOAT running back, because he's more concerned about trying to win championships. Now, he never did, and more concerned about his teammates than he is about his individual accolades, you know? And I
Right.
think when you look at that of trying to do it, and I think, just to let everyone know, my dad did move from, Boston. He was at the Brigham, and then he went to University of San Francisco where he became the chief. But I think one reason why he took that job for many years is because he wanted to help out the younger generation. And he did put set aside some of his personal goals. Now he's back trying to help out he's still working full time. People are like, is he working part time or whatever? But no, people are like, what is it? What is it like? Man, he is just laser focused trying to produce the best papers, the biggest inspirations, things ahead of its time. Because if you create things so great, they won't even know. Like, current society won't know it's great. In fact, the heart catheter, when I'll tell people this, when it was submitted to the National Institute of Health for grants, which is a pretty big thing, right? People would say the heart catheter, it got the lowest ranking ever, got like an F minus. You're like, no way. Yeah. And you're like, "No way." Yeah, because people didn't think it would be, like, good. They said this thing stinks, right? It turned out that that was a pretty good idea. In fact, it took so long, the, patent didn't expire, and there was no money into that. You're like, "No way." Yeah. And you're like, "Oh, probably wouldn't be doing mortgages here." But but it was never about that. And that's the same thing
Right.
with my dad. He's always chasing. And I'll tell you this, to learn how to chase, his brother's the same thing. His sister-in-law, Patricia Ganz, is also world renowned. Like you say, no way. Yeah. They also have some incredible H score. And no way. Yeah. See, the best of the best, they're not chasing money and they're not chasing records. They're chasing like better ways to do things. They're chasing winning championships. And winning championships is not a trophy. This is the difference between winners and losers. Like it's chasing greatness. It's things that you can't touch, right? It's not like it's this philosophical thing. And now that I see it, they didn't know it till this year. And that's my dad. And you're like, "No way." And I had no idea because he wouldn't say anything about his career or who he was. I put it in Gemini and I put his career up. And here's the craziest story. And I emailed him and my mom. And you know what my mom said? She had no idea either. I said, "How do you not know?" She's like, he didn't tell me. So even if it's your son or your wife or your whatever, so imagine racking up all these awards and racking up all these points and these papers, and not even you're like, what? I said, how does you not know that he had not the second highest or this or he did that? And he's like, you didn't know about the 1986 paper, right? You have no idea that this changed. Like any cardiologist would be like, yeah, 1986, 100%. They would know about this, you know? In fact, it has a bigger impact than the catheter. But people know about because it's like a thing. You can hold it up. It's like an iPhone, right? But the way you change the way nitric oxide changed the way it affected the body is a much bigger impact. So when you look at leadership and all this, and that's a better way. That's more important than money. It's more important than try to accolades. And I think that's why it keeps him going at 76. You're like, how many more years? Like, do I think knowing him, as long as he's healthy, and I think that's a big thing. He's healthy and he's having fun and he's in a positive environment, then I think he's just gonna keep going, right? Because that's what stopped my grandfather was the health, right?
Right.
And
Well,
I
that's for
think
most high
that's
performers, like you
yeah.
keep going, especially when you're doing the things that you love to do. Like Shaq didn't quit. He just stopped playing basketball. Now he does a bunch of other things. Like if you're a high performing person, especially that championship mindset, I love the way that it's thought about and the way that he approached it, because it's outcomes don't happen in a vacuum, right? It could have been, that story could have turned out where he did win it, but it wouldn't have mattered still the same, because outcomes are the byproduct of doing other things well, right? I say this all the time. If you want results, it's action times time. That creates a result. Like how to create a result's not a hard thing. Do something for long enough or not do it for long enough, and you'll get a different result. But that's how we do it. And when you realize that, it comes down to living well and leading well, where how are you handling that? If it's only about you, you're missing the point. You're missing really the good parts of living, honestly, because it's the connection with others. It's being part of something bigger than yourself. It does have a tremendous impact on the way we go about living, the way we enjoy our lives, the way that, honestly, too, I've seen more people accomplish greater things living that way than the opposite. Because when you get worried about the one, then you're stuck. Now it's done. What are you going to do it again? Right. Like, and especially in so many motivated people, it's not about an outcome, because those just happen. It's about a process. It's about living a certain way, being a certain way, where the act of that raises those around you.
And you know what? You talked about Shaq. Shaq doesn't get enough credit of how hard he works. I'll tell people this. If you're in the Hall of Fame, you are a hard worker. By definition, there's never been a Hall of Famer. In fact, what people don't realize, and look at the tape, Shaq was not the best big man on his team as a freshman at LSU. You're like, what do you mean? He's Shaq. No, Stanley Roberts was. Stanley Roberts was a better shooter, better passer, better at defense. I said, well, what happened to Stanley Roberts? In fact, Shaq has admitted this. He actually used this a lot of it in his podcast, Stanley Roberts, saying, and I don't know if he says, he just brings them up, but Stanley Roberts did play in the NBA, but he never really blossomed, even though he was the better player. In fact, this is why I think a lot of early bloomers fail, because they collect these trophies, they get it big in their head. It was too easy. The better people in life had a moment or many moments where they were either passed over or they got cut, like Michael Jordan. Like, I've had many moments where I was passed over or something happened or whatever, right? But it's about a process,
Right.
And that's what I
One
tell
thing my
people.
mentor says about that. One thing my
Someone
mentor
said
says
to
about
me,
that is your highlight reel is because of your low light reel. That's the reality. Without the lowlights, you don't get the highlights. They're the things that force you to change, force you to become the person that can do that thing. And it's it's how you handle them is everything. Like I'm way more impressed by what someone's overcome than what they've accomplished. Hands down. To overcome something required real work. Accomplishing stuff, there's a lot of things that go into that. Some of it has nothing to do with us, but overcoming things that's internal work. That's fortitude work. Takes guts and grit to do it.
I totally That's what people don't realize. That's what makes people great, the ability to overcome and what you put into it, you know? I mean, great
Right.
parents are also a big influence,
For
right?
sure.
Look at the
For sure.
Olympics, right? People wanna know the highest success. Here's facts that I like. I'm a numbers person. The most successful kids at school aren't at school. They're homeschooled.
Mm,
You're like, "No way," and it's not even close. You're like, "What do you mean?" "But Jimmy goes to Palm Beach." "Doesn't matter." You're like, I know what someone's gonna say, "Oh, yeah, you couldn't have been a good athlete." There's plenty of good athletes that were, like, in homeschool. You're like, "Name me one." "Tim Tebow." Right?
yeah.
Like, come on, like, that has nothing to do with it, like, because you can always still participate at the school level
Right.
and and
Exactly.
and a and do that, and that's really, I think, parents are a big influence, and I think Shaq had a good influence, his parents. Tiger Woods had good parents. I mean, he kind of fell off. I mean, his dad died, right?
Yeah.
Venus Williams
You
had good parents.
well, you see the
Michael
impact
Jordan
of
had
it.
good parents. And then you look at the list of people that didn't have good parents, and they were like the biggest draft busts. In fact, if you take a list of the biggest draft busts, doesn't matter what sport, there's actually a common theme. No parents, bad parents. Like, this is like a common theme, right? Like, it was like bad people around them. You were never like the biggest draft busts never had parents of the year. In fact, most of them didn't even have parents. They may have been the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, but they kind
Right.
of didn't have it to be able to succeed, right?
Right.
And
And at the
I
time of
think
life they're trying to, man, like, cause that's something that's on all of us. None of us asked to be here. We all just woke up here one day. And each human, especially if you're older than 25, you got to get square with that. You got to get square with who was it that raised you? Were they great people? Awesome. If that's your experience, awesome. If they weren't, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you beat yourself up with that truth. It's not going to help. I didn't come from necessarily the easiest environment. I've had to overcome a lot of things mentally, emotionally, physically throughout life. But the fact that you got to get square with it, and then what it shows you, my kids are having the completely opposite experience than I had. I know the environment that they need to have to prepare their mind for them in their early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, when life is squeezing and we're actually growing and becoming. I mean, that's where you're talking about the draft bust. It ain't just basketball that's happening. Life is squeezing the shit out of you in your mid 20s. You don't even know who you are at 30. Like, life is just doing its thing. And if you don't have that foundation to fall back on, that's where you get trouble to come in. And that's where folks I've talked to, when you know that about yourself and then hard hits, you can keep from self-destructing. And that's what a good environment did for you anyways, was it taught you how to handle hard well. And the better you handle hard, the better life is. Hands down. You want data, there it is. Pay attention to people who handle hard poorly, where they fall apart, measure their life after. Measure people who handle it well, measure their life after. And what you'll see is someone constantly growing and climbing, and someone that just spends their life, it seems like, going around the same thing over and over and over, because you just hit a stuck point. That's why we need each other. That's where leadership, like we're talking about, comes in super important, is connecting with people that really they lead themselves well. We're all got leadership responsibility. Do you lead yourself well? If you know how to do that, you can lead other people well. And it comes down to what you're talking about. It's not about me, right? If I want to make a lot of money, solve other people's problems. If I want to be a good dad, be a good dad. Do the stuff that makes you a good dad, right? Be a good husband, be a good husband. That's what my mentor says. You don't get to say you're a good husband or a good dad. Your kids do. your wife does. There's a proof of your life that do it. That's all I got to worry about, right? And that's leading myself well. If I show up in each role daily, I'll create the life I want. Probably my favorite quote I've created. A good life is made by living the individual days well. Now
That
that's
is
the
so
goal.
true. It's the daily activities. People
Daily.
want I'll tell you this. We were thinking about it next wave. How do we improve our company, right? And I'll tell you one of the things I'm working on. So one of our competitors, and this is common, this is kept on publishing. We got this like tracker. And let me explain the tracker. The tracker would basically be, it publish your monthly volume or your monthly, you're a big producer, just produce the same people on the list all the time, right?
Yeah.
But this doesn't encourage daily activities. It doesn't encourage new people to do well. So where we're coming up with, and it's in process, is something called the karma tracker. Okay. And that's your daily activities, not only to produce more, to be a better person. That's why I called it the karma tracker. You can do a little good, right? And I
Right.
think that is something that I've like learned about the daily activities and just in my style of managing where I've helped out a lot of people is that there's been like 3 instances where my manager wanted me to fire someone much sooner within 90 days, right? That's what area managers want. Give someone 90 days, 4 months.
Right.
And I gave them 6 months. I gave them 9 months longer because I saw the daily activities. Not every one time you get the fruits of the labor when you want it, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes it's cut too short. And there's nothing worse than cutting a player that could have done it for you and watching him go do it for someone else. You're like, give me an example. Okay. Red Sox fans, David Ortiz, right? He was with the Minnesota Twins. He was actually cut by the Twins, waiver wire, right? These things happen, right? Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for people to develop, to find their groove. They need so much at bats. In fact, look at the number one great predictor for NFL quarterback success at the college level to the pros is not completion percentage. It's not touchdowns. It is not 40 time. It is what?
What is it?
Game started.
Mm.
If you have had at least 2 years of playing, that is actually your biggest success. In fact, if you want to see a bust, go look at players that didn't have enough starts, right? And not to say that they couldn't. In fact, the last 2 quarterbacks that had under 2 starts or 2 years of starting that have won the Super Bowls, there's only 2 of them, right? And the whole NFL, right? The
Right.
last one was Sam Darnold, right? So we'll look at Sam Darnold's career. He was cut by the Jets or traded to the Panthers. Then he did eventually, after like 7 years of the starts, he did well with obviously his next year the Vikings. He did well,
Mm.
and then with the Seattle, finally after like 7 or 8 years, he had that. But maybe if he stayed with the starts. The other one would be a guy named Tom Brady. Now, before what you say, he sat a year, he was a senior, he did 4 years. Like Tom Brady was a little different, right? But it
Right.
does show that when people get enough daily activities, right, that they get the practice and they didn't skip a step, they can become great, right? And I think the same is for business.
Completely agree. That's what a leader does. A good leader can see somebody doing the daily reps, and that's all you could ever ask for, because that's how life comes at us, is by the day. It's not a bunch of moves. It's little moves for a long time. That's where I appreciated growing up farming, because it helped me understand time in a way where if you plant a seed and then pitch a fit for 4 months waiting it to grow, it doesn't make it go any faster at all. At all. You got to pull the weeds. You got to put fertilizer on it. You got to put the water on it. You got to check it, but it's just doing its thing, and you've got to give it long enough. But if you do it long enough, like I was saying earlier, It's a formula. Action plus time equals a result. If you see the actions happening, now it's just do them long enough. And you will always, always, always get a result. And it goes both ways. Don't exercise for 10 years and see what happens, right? There's going to be a result that's going to happen. It's just what creates them. So I got to wrap this up, man. These are the kind of talks I can have for a long time. Appreciate you being with me today. And your insights. For those that are listening in that want to learn more about you, want to learn more about Next Wave Mortgage, what's a great way for them to find you?
Well, you could always go to nextwavemortgage.com, but give me a call, 617-529-9317, or you could send me a text, 617-529-9317. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, but I'm old school. If you want to just hang out or talk or Zoom, I'm always willing. I never turn down a conversation. I'm
Love that.
always, I would never recommend that from anyone because you're going to learn from everyone, right? So I
Right.
think sometimes in our industry, we think people are above us or below us. I never look like that, right? I always want real conversations. I always really want to win so we can go from there, you know?
Love that, man. Well, thank you for sharing. If you're watching and listening in, check our show notes. We'll have all of Phil's links there and his information there. Reach out to him, touch base with him, work with professionals in the business, like we say all the time. Again, Phil, thanks for being here, man. Thanks everybody out there for being with us. We appreciate y'all. If you got value out of today's episode, please like this episode. Share it with someone else you think you get value out of it. And if you're not a subscriber yet, you know what to do. Click that button, follow along. We've got more conversations coming up with operators just like Phil. Folks out there building a real business in the industry. Thanks again. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.